just love a chiffon cake. And you know, it's a really American cake. It was invented in Los Angeles by a baker named Harry Baker. A chiffon cake is made with oil. People like oil cakes for the texture, but usually they're fairly bland in flavor. But I have several secrets that will show you how to bring all the flavor into the cake so you wouldn't want it with any other type of fat. I begin with weighing the flour. And when I weigh the flour, I don't have to sift it, which is a great advantage. It's speedy, and the only reason I sift is to measure, and that way I don't get too much flour because it would be a lot heavier if I used extra flour. And I want this chiffon cake to be the same light texture from top to bottom. Now this is going to be 8 ounces. We have a tiny bit over. A lot of chiffon cakes are nice and light at the top, but then they get heavier and heavier as you go down because they start compacting. The secret to the reason why this is so perfectly even throughout is because I have 3 extra egg whites. I'm using 7 whole eggs and then adding 3 extra egg whites, and that gives it the best texture. So in the large bowl, I'm adding the flour, baking powder, salt, and all but 2 tablespoons of the sugar, because whenever I beat egg whites, I like to have a little sugar left to beat with the egg whites, and that gives them more stability. And after I mix it together, I'm going to make a little hole in the middle so that I can add all the liquid ingredients. The liquid ingredients consist of fresh orange juice, freshly squeezed is the most delicious, safflower oil, and it's important to add an oil. It doesn't have to be safflower oil, but you wouldn't, for example, want peanut oil because that has a peanut flavor. And you wouldn't want an oil that has anything that on the bottle that says silica or silicates, because they're an anti-foaming agent, and foam is what makes a chiffon cake. These are the egg yolks, freshly grated orange zest, orange portion only, and vanilla extract, which always makes the flavors of everything that much more delicious. This is orange flavored oil. Actually, it's the actual oil from the orange, and it comes from the zest, which is the peel section of the orange, and has a pure orange flavor. I'm just using a ½ teaspoon of that, and then there's another oil that comes from Italy. These are optional, but these add extra flavor. It's called Fiore di Sicilia, the flowers of Sicily, and it has a secret mix, I don't know what it is, I'm not withholding, of different citrus oils. It's very, very aromatic, so just a little bit goes a long way. I'm using a ½ teaspoon for a cake that serves as many as 14 to 16 people. Now I'm going to mix all the liquid ingredients into the dry ingredients for about a minute, or until it's all a smooth batter, before even starting to beat the egg whites. And the egg whites are going to be what gives the texture, the final air to the chiffon cake. As soon as the batter is mixed and it's smooth, stop the mixer, and now we're going to go to the egg whites. Now remember, I have 7 egg whites plus the 3 egg whites, so that's 10 egg whites. And the secret to never overbeating egg whites is to use the right amount of cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is added after the eggs become a little foamy. And the perfect amount to add is 1/8 teaspoon of cream of tartar for each egg white used. So here I'm using 1 1/4 teaspoons of cream of tartar. And then the sugar, those remaining 2 tablespoons of sugar will be added as soon as I have soft peaks. But with this amount of cream of tartar, not more, not less, I could beat for 10 minutes and I would never make these egg whites stiff. They'd always be beautiful and flexible to fold into the batter. If they're beaten stiff, then it breaks down in the batter. There goes all the air. So this will take a few minutes. I gradually bring up the speed until it's almost to the top, and let it beat until soft peaks, when I can really see the whisk marks on the egg whites. Now when it's soft peaks, it just curves up and it kind of folds over. It doesn't stand straight up. And that's when you can start adding the sugar. But don't worry, because if you've gone a little bit past it, you've used the cream of tartar and you'll be okay. This is the remaining 2 tablespoons of sugar. And then beat until stiff peaks, which is almost right away. And remember, you never can have a trace of oil on those egg whites, or even with cream of tartar, they'll never beat right. They'll never beat it all stiff. So that means no egg yolk anywhere near the white, and certainly no oil anywhere near the bowl. In fact, you can wipe the bowl out with vinegar if you have any doubts as to the cleanliness of your bowl. See, this is stiff peaks where it's just about straight up, and that way you'll get the maximum amount of air into the chiffon cake. Now I'm going to do it in 2 parts. Actually, I'm going to add the stiffly beaten egg white to my liquid and flour. And I always add the lighter thing to the heavier thing, because if I were going to put all this orangey mixture on top of the egg whites, it would immediately deflate them. So I'd rather add the egg white to the rest of the batter. And I'm using a large balloon whisk. You could also use a skimmer, one with little holes in it, or a rubber spatula. But the best thing is something with separations in it, like this whisk, and then just using it over and under. You still want to see streaks because there's the other whole batch to add to it. Get out all your egg whites. And then fold in the rest. And now we want to fold it until we can't see any white streaks in the batter. And it shouldn't take more than 30 seconds. But actually, you have so much stability in those egg whites, it gives you a lot more leeway than with most recipes that don't, let's say the cream of tartar is optional. It is optional, but it's an added insurance. You can see this is a huge, billowy batter. I just love making this, and I really love eating it. And now I'm going to put it in the prepared pan, which is a tube pan, and the preparation is very easy. You do nothing to it. And you certainly don't want to have a non-stick pan, because the whole point here is for the cake to stick onto the pan, so that when I turn it upside down, it holds in there until it cools and you get the full volume that remains. So pour it in. And it should come up pretty high in the pan, but it is going to rise more in the oven. If you spill a little, wipe it off, because otherwise this part starts burning onto the side of the pan.